who is here, and thanks for the invitation. And I will be talking about stabilization schemes for convection dominated PDEs in time dependent domains. Okay. So if we have a convection dominated PDE where convection dominates, the convection term dominates, there we need stabilization scheme. Okay. So that's why stabilization comes. Okay. And the challenge here is this problem is posed in time dependent domain. So you have also some work on moving deforming domain. So here the problem is posed in time deforming domains. Okay. So okay, coming to the outline of my talk, I will be giving. Okay, so I will be talking about dominated PDEs, governing equations. Okay, so governing equation for convection dominated PD, some simplest case I will be talking about. Next, what are the challenges involved in that to solve a convection dominated PD? Okay. Next point is how I am going to handle the time dependent domain. So here I have worked on ALE formulation. So I'm not able to write it, but that's okay. Page up. Oh, I came so much down. So I am going to handle it with arbitrary Lagrangian Eulerian approach. So I should not use pointer here. So the time dependent domain is being handled with ALE approach. Okay. So it has some variants, which is conservative form and non-conservative form. I will be talking on that. Then I have used, in the first part of my work, I have used stabilization by streamline upwind Petrov-Galerkin scheme. Okay, I'll give all the numerical analysis and numerical results about that. Okay, about SUPG scheme. Then briefly, I will talk about stabilization with local projection. Stabilization with local projection scheme. Okay. So the LPS stands for local projection stabilization. With we have discontinuous Galerkin in time. I have used DG in time for time discretization. So here in this this part of work, I have used implicit all finite difference type of time discretization, while in this LPS with DG, I have used finite element type time discretization, which is discontinuous Galerkin. Okay, so I'll be talking about all the numerical analysis and numerical results, and then I conclude my talk with summary. So coming to the convection diffusion reaction equation. Okay, so this is the simplest form of convection diffusion reaction equation. So here our aim is to seek a numerical scheme, to find a numerical scheme for this type of equation. Okay, so here this is a standard time derivative term. Epsilon is diffusive coefficient. Okay, so whatever Laplacian operator, that is coefficient of that is diffusive coefficient, right? Then we have a convective term, reactive term, and then given source term. Okay, and this problem, as I keep on repeating, this problem is posed in time dependent domain, means omega suffix t. That is why I am giving color to here, like blue color, that denotes time varies with time, domain varies with time. This is with the conditions, initial and boundary conditions. So boundary condition is given as 0. For the simplest case I have considered here, I have a numerical example where I have different boundary conditions. So here I am just giving 0 boundary condition and some initial condition. Okay, with some assumption on this C and B. So reaction and convection term, I have given some assumption on that, which is C minus half divergence B should be positive for all time, for all position in omega t, for all t, and for all x in omega t. Okay, so it should be strictly positive. So as you can see, challenges here is, first of all, I am looking for the solution in time dependent domain. And in case of when epsilon goes very small, if epsilon is very small compared to b term, then these type of problem comes under singularly perturbed PDE. Okay, and if we solve this type of problem with standard approach, you will see that there are a lot of complications involved in that. Okay, so here this epsilon terms, so we are interested in the problem where epsilon terms is very small than convective term. Okay, and this type of singularly perturbed PDE contains boundary or interior layers in the solution. Okay, so just to explain you with a simplest case, I am going to consider this equation with a ODE. So in one dimension, I will consider steady state problem. So I will give you, just to give the motivation. Okay, so for simplicity, I am going to consider this equation, which is what? Minus epsilon d2u by dx2 plus b du by dx is equal to 1. Okay, and satisfying this boundary condition. So at the boundary, I'm not able to write here, otherwise it would be better. That's a problem with online thing. That's okay. So shall I use Microsoft Edge for PDF reading?
Yeah.
I can use, right? Let me see.
Yeah.
Then I can annotate there, so it won't be.
Yeah.
That will be better. Actually, if I'm
yeah.
using.
Okay.
So here, let me share you this one. Whether it will be. Stop sharing. Let me see if I'm able to share that. Microsoft Edge tab. Yeah. So here I can write, then it will be better.
It is not shared now. Yeah. Just a moment.
Shared, right?
Yeah. It's now. It's here. It's okay.
So I was somewhere here. So that.
Yeah.
So for simplicity, as I told in the previous case, I had different something like this, right? Convection dominated differential equation. It is. Let me make it very fine. So del u by del t minus epsilon Laplacian u plus b dot gradient u is plus cu is equal to f, some f. With initial and boundary condition, I'm not writing here. But for simplicity, I want to explain it for these two terms. Okay, with these two terms. What happens if epsilon is very small than b, than our convective term? In that case, what happens? So I have taken this differential equation, which is minus epsilon u double dash plus b u dash is equal to 1, satisfying this boundary condition, u at 0 and u at 1 is 0. So here the solution is 0. This is what. So at 1, the solution comes like, goes something like this and jumps to 0. So this is the boundary condition we have. So now for this particular equation, we know the analytical solution, which I have written it directly. So analytical solution for this differential equation will be something of this sort. Ux is equal to 1 by bx minus this whole term, which involves exponential. Okay. If we want to see the limiting case as we approach x approaches 1 and epsilon goes to 0, if diffusive coefficient goes to 0, in that case, you can see left side limit and right side limit is not same. Means limit doesn't exist, right? So this type of problem, if we solve it with standard approach, any standard method, a standard approach, if we use for this type of problem. So standard approach for numerical people, what we feel is central difference, let's say, if I'm using. So central difference discretization, if I use for this, so it is minus epsilon ui plus 1 minus u 2 ui plus ui minus 1 upon h square plus central difference for this term, which is this thing, right? If I use this, and just a notation in the Peclet number. It is very useful in fluid dynamics. So Peclet number, just notation which we are using it as BH upon 2 epsilon, and rearrange this equation, it will boil down to this one, which is PE minus Peclet number minus 1 UI plus 1 plus 2 UI minus this much. Okay, so what if we want to see how our next node oscillations, this next node oscillation, so UI plus 1 minus UI, how it is magnified in terms of previous node oscillations? You can see here it is magnified by this much term. Okay, so 1 plus PE Peclet number upon 1 minus Peclet number. So previous node solution multiplied by this much term is giving you next node oscillations. Okay, so here in case of Peclet number greater than 1, means Peclet number is what? BH upon 2 epsilon. If BH upon 2 epsilon is greater than 1, or epsilon is very less than B, then you can see this has very significant value, right? This has very much significant value you will find. So then the solution will be, so let me plot this one. So it is something like a x, y is equal to something like x minus something, right? So the plot goes something like this one. And then at u is equal to 1, it suddenly jumps to 0. Oh, sorry. Yeah, jumps to 0. No. Yeah. So if we want to see now the node oscillations, how it is being modified, let me show you in the next page I have. So you can see this black dotted one is the exact solution, which I just now I plotted, the dot one. And this is the numerical solution with standard approach, the red one. Okay, and here you can see the oscillations are being magnified by, so here this much oscillation is there, but in the next step it is modified. In the next step, you can see even more magnitude is being increased next step because of this result, right? So it is being modified with this much value. So in the last, you can see here the oscillations are very high. So we don't want solution, numerical solution of this short, right? We don't want this. What we want is something which is very close to exact solution. So that is where all the concept of stabilization comes. So all stabilized finite element scheme comes. Okay. So here, okay. So what we want is some scheme which should be some discrete scheme which is similar to central difference scheme or something similar in structure, but it should be able to give us exact solution at the nodes. This is what my objective is, right, for this particular problem. So what we want is some AIs which are unknown to us. I am going to look for the solution of this equation. So this involves UI. So solution at UI node, we are taking the nearest neighbor. Okay. So UI minus 1, UI plus 1. So just some coefficient times UI minus 1 plus some A2 UI plus A3 UI plus 1 is equal to 1. Similar in the structure I'm writing here. So these AIs we can calculate because we know the exact solution. So UI minus 1, UI plus 1 we know. So if we substitute the exact solution, the equation will be of this form, and we can solve it for AIs, A1, A2, A3. Okay. And if we substitute this AI value back to this equation, this A, and rearrange this term in the form of this central difference case. Okay, we want to rearrange term in this form, then you can see that how our scheme is going to be something of this sort. So this is the scheme. This is the like numerical scheme where we are going to get exact solution at the nodes. Okay, this is what we are expecting. The answer should be something like we should be able to get the exact solution at the node, right? Which is the plot is some with some stabilization. I have given a plot. So here red one is the numerical solution and black dotted one is the exact solution. Okay, so this is scheme. We are going to have exact solution at exact solution at the nodal points. So here we have rearranged it in the form of Galerkin weak form. Okay, so here you can see I have given it a blue color. This is the additional term which we need for a scheme to be exact at the nodal point. So what type of term is it? This is second order term, right? Here this is second order term. If you remember, it is Laplacian U type of term. So this is the epsilon term. So here this was the lack of in the numerical scheme. So if we add some diffusion type term, we are going to get exact solution at the discrete node. Okay, so that is why what I have written here means our numerical standard central difference or whatever, that numerical solution was lacking diffusion. Okay, here we have added one diffuser type term and we are getting exact solution at the nodes. So that is how like all stabilization terms are coming, all stabilization schemes are coming into the picture. Okay, so what we do is in any stabilization, we usually add some diffusive type term into the equation and we get better solution. So here for this simplest example, you can see it is not same, right? We have some numerical error, of course. So, but it is at least better than this one. So that is how stabilization scheme comes. So there are plenty of stabilization scheme. There is one by name SUPG, which is Streamline Upwind Petroglycine. Petroglycine, the full form of this. We usually, like SUPG is well known, so we don't use that full form. Galerkin. Another one is local projection stabilization, which is denoted by LPS. Subgrid viscosity, orthogonal subscale, interior penalty, DG. DG in space. So for my work, I have used DG in time. Okay. So these two are the numerical scheme which I have worked on till now. Okay. So this has certain drawbacks. That is why I moved to this one. So I will be talking about first two stabilization scheme in this work. Okay, coming to the next slide, what I have is how to handle domain movement. Okay, so how we are going to handle. So because my computational domain is moving with time, we need to take care of that also. So here, so in literature, there are many ways. There is first one, which is Eulerian approach. In this approach, what happens is our computational grid will be fixed. So here, tracking the interface, we need for tracking interface, we need some other like front tracking. There are many methods, so I didn't go into detail of this one. I won't be able to tell you also. Level set, front tracking, many methods are there in an Eulerian approach, but taking care of interface is another big deal. So here mass conservation or surface force incorporation, that is also another issues. So moving to there is another approach, Lagrangian approach. In this, what happens is the computational grid. So the domain moves with the mesh. Okay. no, the mesh moves with the domain. Okay, so we no need to track the interface. It will be automatically captured. But problem here, challenge here is, what if our domain deforms very fast, very quick deformation is there? Then this method will not work. And mesh distortion happens in this method. Okay, we won't be able to remesh again and again. So that's why this also has a drawback. So we move to ALE approach, arbitrary Lagrangian Eulerian approach. In this, what happens is the boundary point, so the surface at the at the surface we move with the mesh velocity, and inner points are displaced arbitrarily. Okay, so the movement of the inner point will be given by solving an elastic equation. So elastic equation means, let's say we know how the boundary moves. Let's say we know the boundary movement. We know boundary movement is known to us. Movement we know. Okay, so inner point, how we are going to move inner point, for this we need to solve some equations. Elastic equation. So if we use this technique, this is what I have used. So interface capturing, all those things, and mesh distortion, or all those problems are overcome. So that is why we have used ALE approach. Okay, coming to the next slide, I will just tell. So stabilization scheme, as I keep on telling, I have considered time-dependent domain. I have used ALE approach for handling domain movement, streamline upwind petroglycan, and local projection stabilization I have used for our as a stabilization scheme. Then for this part of work, in the first part of work, I have used finite difference type time discretization. So we have a time derivative term also, right? We have this term. So here I can use either finite difference type of time discretization, or I can go for finite element type of time discretization also. So in the first part of work, I have considered this one. In the second part, I have used DG, discontinuous Galerkin. And the first part, I have considered implicit Euler, Crank-Nicolson, BDF, all this scheme. Because these are this is first order scheme, this is second order, this is second order. So I thought of, okay, why not to move for the higher order? So DG is higher order. We can have any order Q, right? Higher order scheme. That is the reason of moving to a higher order scheme. That's fine. So in the first part of my work, so this will give gave me 2 publications. With this, I have 2 papers. So I have considered implicit Euler, Crank-Nicolson, BDF2 with SUPG. And the next part of my work, I have considered DG method. Okay. So are we going to be very precise about the time, sir?
No, it's okay. You have 30 minutes approx.
30 minutes, okay. So here, to handle the domain movement with ALE approach, what we have to do is, we have a reference domain, and that will be denoted by omega hat. It can be the initial domain omega 0, or previous time step domain. It can be omega n minus 1 also. Okay, and let me say we have our computational current domain. So here we need one mapping. Okay, one mapping that is denoted by ALE mapping, AT. This is set of all bijective mapping. Okay, this is a bijective mapping. So any point here in computational domain, so let's say we have xt here, that can be given as a point here. Okay, so AT of y is xt. Okay, x of yt, sorry. At of y is x of yt. Similarly, any continuous function, v in some continuous function in omega t, the corresponding function v hat here will be written as v hat is equal to v of at through composition of map. This is very straightforward, not to spend much. Now we have time derivative term also in the equation, right? We have del v by del t term. So the corresponding del v hat by del t term will be written as, so here v was a function of space and time, and this position is also a function of time. So we can use the chain rule, right? So del v by del t in this domain omega hat will be given as del v by del x by del t plus chain rule del v by del t, right? So del x by del t, so displacement, like rate of change of time of position is nothing but mesh velocity, how we are deforming the domain. So that will be del v by del x times w, some mesh velocity term, w, plus del v by del t. So here you can see this is what I have written. The time derivative term can be written as this one, which is w dot gradient v. So if it is in 2D, 3D, you can have gradient v type of term coming, right? This is okay, so w dot gradient v plus del v by del t. So this is the additional term which we are going to get if we want to write our equation in this domain. And we have to write, because computation, how we are going to do, we have to write everything on reference domain. So that is why in our standard equation, we had earlier only del v by del t plus this one, plus this was there. Now I want to write this on reference domain. That is why I'm ending up with one additional term, which was w dot gradient u. If you remember from the previous explanation, this comes with a negative sign, right? And what if we want to write this term outside of the integral? Like I want to write something in conservative form. Conservative form is what? If we can write some differentiation of some function is equal to 0, some equation, if we can write a differential of some function is equal to 0, then this type of equation is known as conservative form. So that is why I want to write ddt outside the integral. If we want to do that, we need to use some Reynolds transport theorem and other things, which I cannot talk now. So that will give you additional these two terms. Okay, so now I want to write the same our model equation with this term outside the integral. Here it is just Jacobian. So because we have mapping from to space, so Jacobian will come into the picture. Okay? Jacobian will be there. So these are two any additional terms because of domain movement, domain deformation. W is here mesh velocity. Okay, so here it is a convective type term, here it is a reactive type term, you can see. So it has been reduced, subtracted from the convection term. This one has been subtracted from the reaction term. So my main equation, model equation changed here. We can see that because of domain movement. Coming to the next point, this is variational form, which we all are aware of, mathematics people, great people. So we have a one solution space. Okay, we are going to take test function from this h10 as just the simplest case I have considered. It can be any thing, but here for my implementation, I have taken h10. And these are some notations. So just multiplying with the test function and using integration by part for the higher order term, what we are going to end up with this equation. Okay, this was non-conservative form. And conservative form means I am writing derivative outside the integral. And this denotes t. What does it denote is this integration is done on omega t domain. So that can be omega t1 or it can be omega t2 or ti, anything. So that is why this suffix t comes. And in conservative one, we have, this was there, but here we have one more additional term, which is reaction type term. which has been subtracted from the reactive term. Okay, so these two are, so now onwards I am going to talk only about this one. Okay, this will take more time, so only conservative form. So here if you see, we have till now I haven't talked about how we are going to discretize this term. No discussion till now, right? I was just speaking about ALE formulation, and now I am going to tell you about how this SUPG stabilization works. Okay, so for a given omega naught and initial value and all these things, here our equation is the standard one, the previous one, plus this involves the stabilization part. This term involves the stabilization part, and this is coming because of domain movement. So domain deformation is introducing this term, and stabilization is there in this term. Okay, is equal to this additional term is coming because of stabilization. So here SUPG is it's a consistent scheme. Consistent scheme means what we do is the whole equation will be tested with minus epsilon Laplacian u plus b dot gradient u plus cu. This will be tested with this term, convective term. So this is a consistent scheme, but here in time-dependent domain, since these two are not same, because this is also a function of time and this is also a function of time, so I was not able to handle it neither theoretically, so I was not able to do any analysis for this, nor numerically. I couldn't analysis no this thing, implementation. So that is why I considered inconsistent scheme. Here you can see there is no time derivative term. Del u by del t is not there, right? Here we have only this much term because of stabilization. So only this much. I have skipped this time derivative term from this SUPG stabilization. And here delta k is some local stabilization parameter which values depends on mesh size h and convective term b. So I explained this why I have considered inconsistent scheme. So coming to the coercivity of this form. So ASUPG, whatever I have given the definition here, I am going to prove whether this bilinear form is called. So first let me define a mesh dependent norm, which is the standard norm with this additional WH term here. Okay. So in time fixed domain problem, this is triple norm is same, but here because of mesh movement, I am getting a WH term. So with respect to this norm, my bilinear form ASUPG UHVH is coercive with respect to this norm. Okay, this coercivity will be used in proving, in showing the stability of the scheme. So because this was on left hand side, so let me show you the quickly the stability. So semi-discrete because we have not yet discretized in time. No del u by del t discretization. So here you can see if I talk about the stability here, the solution is bounded by initial solution and given source term. We can see it here, right? And here one point to note that we don't have any mesh velocity term here. It is independent of mesh velocity, right? The stability estimate is independent of mesh velocity. I will not talk about so the proof is just like if we will be ending up with this term, right? Del UH by del T times UH. And if we just use Reynolds transport theorem, and some more Jacobian and all this mapping, you will end up with this result, and this will get cancelled with the term where we have the domain velocity term. So that is why you are ending up with this estimate, which is independent of mesh velocity. Okay, this is very simple. If someone wants, I have the reference. We can have a look. Anyone can have a look. Oh, and oh no. My mistake. I pressed end. So stability is done. Now I will talk about time discretization, temporal discretization. So for time discretization, what we are going to do is, let's say this is our time axis. So we will discretize it into n subintervals. Let's say in, I have, okay, in this in interval, I will define my discrete ALE map to be linear interpolation in time. Okay, it's a one polynomial degree in time. So mesh velocity will be nothing but time derivative of this. So time derivative of, so W is nothing but ddt of, W is equal to ddt of AH delta T. Okay, so if you take the derivative, here it is coming with a plus sign. So AH Tn plus 1 minus AH Tn upon delta T. Okay, GCL, what it says is the domain movement should not affect the solution very much. Okay, solution should be not affected too much because of domain movement. GCL, geometric conservation law. So here what it says is solution difference between the two consecutive domains, omega n plus 1 and omega n, will be given in this form. Okay, so this is another topic of I can take 1 hour to explain this, not required right now. So here briefly, because WH here is a constant polynomial in time, constant, piecewise constant in time, means this term is independent of time. We can take it out of the integration, and this one will give us a delta t, and this we can calculate on omega n plus half. So if we do all the calculation on omega n plus half, we say GCL is satisfied. Geometric conservation law is satisfied. So this is what I am going to do in the rest part of my work. Part. So here, if I discretize my, so here, let's say, what does it mean by implicit Euler scheme? If I have dy by dt is equal to gt, then what we do in implicit Euler, we do yn plus 1 minus yn upon delta t is equal to what it will be, gn plus 1 times of t, right? G at tn plus 1. So here, in spite of gn plus 1, what we are going to do is calculate this on gn plus half to satisfy GCL. Okay, so this is not exactly implicit Euler, it is modified implicit Euler. So satisfying implicit Euler scheme, you can see here every other term is being calculated on omega n plus half domain. Omega n plus half, you can see the difference. All these terms are being calculated on omega n plus half. So satisfying GCL, if we discretize the equation with implicit Euler method, you can see the lemma result. You can see our solution is bounded by initial solutions and given source term. This FR source term, right? Source term. And this UH0 was initial condition, right? So means our solution is bounded by this much and it is unconditionally stable. You can see we don't have any restriction on delta t. No restriction. So this is the implicit Euler method, which is unconditionally stable. And if we look for another Crank-Nicolson scheme, let's say Crank-Nicolson, how it works, if we have dy by dt is equal to gt, then how we work on with Crank-Nicolson, g of ty, let's say if it is, then it works as g of, we take the average of this, yn plus 1 plus yn upon 2 at tn plus half or 1, half I think. Okay, so this is how Crank-Nicolson scheme. This is second order scheme. So I have used this scheme for the same equation, R equation, and you can see here the solution is bounded by initial solution, source term, and exponential of this much. So here we need, so if we want to bound this right hand side, the bound should be there on delta t, which is given as delta t should be strictly less than 1 upon beta 1 n plus beta 2 n, where beta 1 beta 2 is some terms consist of mesh velocity. So means delta t should satisfy certain criteria about mesh velocity, then we can say whether the solution is stable or unstable. Coming to the next one, I have discretized it with BDF. BDF, I am going to discretize something like, let me write it more precisely. BDF scheme, how it works is, if we have dy by dt is equal to g of yt, BDF works something like 3 by, this is also second order scheme, okay? So 3 by 2 yn plus 1 minus 2 yn plus half yn minus 1 is equal to g of yn plus 1 tn plus 1. This is how BDF worked, okay? So you can see discretization here. So if we see the BDF scheme, this is also going to give us conditionally stable, means we have time step restriction. Time should be strictly less than some term involving mesh velocity w. Okay, so this is also conditionally stable scheme. So that is the reason. So implicit Euler, you can see it was no delta t foundation. Crank-Nicolson we have, BDF we have. So this was first order scheme. This is second order. These two are second order. Okay, that is the reason I moved to DG in time. So is it enough to let me motivate why I moved to DG discontinuous? So this DG in time is very higher order. We can have any order in time. Okay, that is why I moved for this. So okay, I have one very nice example I should explain you. So this is a unit square I have, and I have given movement to this unit square. It expands in this fashion. Okay, so x1 is being modified by this much term, x2 is, so here you can see if you implement it, you will find that this unit square expands and contracts, comes back, okay, back and forth. Let me show you the video. First, how to show that? That is very important actually. Share desktop, Windows. This is there. So here, if you see, okay. So this was, sir, you were there. This is the unit. Yeah, this was the unit square, which is periodically expanding and contracting. Okay, and I have given boundary condition as 0. Okay, and initial condition was there, some term is there. Okay, I'll stop it because not much time. So stop sharing. I will share another desktop, which was Windows Edge top.pdf. Yeah. So here the initial condition is something of this sort, and I showed you the domain movement. Here I have considered diffusive coefficient as epsilon is equal to 0.01, while B is 0. But this doesn't comes under B is very less than small, very smaller than epsilon, right? No. Epsilon is very less than small than B. So it doesn't come under this problem, but we introduced one mesh velocity type term, right? W will be coming into the picture. So here I'll show you with this thing. So this is the equation which we need to solve. Domain deformation I have shown you. So if we solve this differential equation with equation with implicit Euler, if you remember, implicit Euler is unconditionally stable, means no delta T restriction, no restriction. So here you can see with all delta T, even bigger, smaller, everything, you can see solution is monotone. So this is the largest value of delta T, right? The green one is smallest. The blue one is the finest delta T. So here this is standard Galerkin method, And if I use SUPG with some stabilization, you can see the solution is diffusing very fast. That is another story. I cannot go into that detail. Crank-Nicolson, you have seen that delta T need to be bounded by something. So here you can see oscillations in that, right? Coming to I am pressing end again and by mistake. So if I go for Crank-Nicolson, you can see the oscillations. If our delta T is very high, the solution is getting monotone when we satisfy. But computational cost increases with delta T, right? With smaller and smaller delta T, computational cost increases. That is why we prefer implicit Euler. So here, this is a SUPG solution. That was Galerkin solution. Coming to the BDF scheme, here also you can see the solution is oscillatory because of domain deformation. Okay, some observation based on time discretion, which I already discussed. Crank-Nicolson has highest oscillation, you can see, than this one, and implicit Euler BDF are more sensitive towards stabilization parameter, and BDF. Okay, so all these details observations are there. Coming to another example. So here I have a cylindrical disc in a channel. Cylindrical disc in a channel. I'll share you the video. This is also very. So if we see the video, it will be more clear for us, for everyone, right? So let me stop this. Stop. Let me share you another one. Meet. Share desktop. This is the example which I have considered. So here the cylindrical disc is kept at temperature 1, okay, and channel we are keeping at temperature 0, okay, and here we have 0 boundary condition, no flux, okay, and the domain, the disc moves something in upward and downwards, back and forth direction, you can see. Okay, this was the movement. Let me quickly do it fast. Something like this. And convection direction was something in this direction, 1, 0 in this direction. So this was one thing. Stop share. Okay, so if we solve this problem, if we solve this problem with a standard Galerkin approach, here you will see that this was the motion of, and here it comes under boundary layer problem, right? One second, I'm sorry. So this is the convection dominated problem. So if we solve this problem with standard approach, you can see the solution varies from -9.87. Ideally, I have kept the cylinder on this on 1 temperature, and here we have 0 temperature. Then ideally the solution should be between 0 1. But if you solve this problem with a standard Galerkin approach, you can see solution goes somewhere between -9 and 12, which is very high oscillation. So we cannot include this. Like we cannot expect this solution, right? So that is why then we move to our SUPG, stabilized solution, and here you can see we have very less undershoots and overshoots. So this was with implicit Euler, and I think this was with Crank-Nicolson. So with both the time distribution, you can see our solution has so very nice solution we are going to get with these two. This is just a okay. So till now work was based on these two paper, and now I have moved to DG in time for with local projection. So I won't be able to explain that everything to you. Just one point I want to explain. What is the difference if I go for DG, and what is the so here in backward Euler we have to solve one equations. With Crank-Nicolson second order equation, second order time discrimination, here with Crank-Nicolson also, I am solving only one equation, right? While with DG, so this is DG1 is second order. I have implemented only second order differential with second order time discrimination. With second order DG, I have to solve system of equation. So the computational cost here increases if we go for DG. So computational cost here. So here it is unconditionally stable, but computational cost increases because of system of equation. While here I have delta T restriction, right? Delta T should be very small. So here also computational cost increases. So if someone asks me which one goes better, it depends on the problem. If our domain movement is high, we have to see for some particular case. If domain movement is not that high, we can go for Crank-Nicolson itself. So this is what all this. So here, the same example unit square I have with DG. DG1, you can see, or with even with higher delta, you can see the solution is not oscillatory. So it is not like this one. It is monotone. And Crank-Nicolson was second order Crank-Nicolson. You can see solution was oscillatory. So just the convergence with DG1. Here all estimates are there already in the paper. If someone wants, they can refer that. So we are going to get 1 plus 1.5 in time convergence for. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks to you. You suffered a lot with the child, but it's okay.
Yeah, he came. Yes, please.
We have very quickly few seconds actually.
Yes, yeah. 7:32 time is here. So could I move, like some part of it was understandable or?
No, everything is good for me. In fact, I have some questions for the further investigation if you are interested. If you have some oscillations, microscopic oscillations in time, then what will happen?
I have oscillations in time also.
Yeah, exactly. If you have periodic oscillations in time, for example, with microstructure, then how will we able to handle it? Because if you remember, if you know, I don't know, we use if we have microscopic perturbations like in the boundary or in the diffusion matrix, then you use multi-scale FEM, right?
Yes, multi-scale.
If you have such thing in time, like that oscillation in time, then what will happen? How will we handle it?
So, sir, I have considered only domain. So that part I haven't I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a mixed merger of two different type of areas.
Yeah. So here till now only domain movement
are open for discussion, and we can continue. But let's stop the talk here, so because the time is up.
Yeah.
Okay. We can anyway discuss these topics later.
Yeah, sure. If
Okay.
any doubt, anything is there, I can explain, because it was very quick, so I couldn't explain everything, but I
Yeah.
tried at least.